Hello everyone, I am the Enforcer and welcome to the breaking news. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe and support us on Patreon, link in the description below. We have gotten absolutely huge news today from multiple areas around the world as we are hearing that North and South Korea may be going into a shooting war here incredibly soon as North Korean artillery batteries have been given the order to prepare for firing. We have also been able to get major news from the area around Taiwan that right after the Chinese government made a statement that they are ready for war, a large People's Liberation Army Navy fleet has been seen just south of Taiwan, incredibly close to Taiwanese waters. A very dangerous situation to say the least, and one that the United States and the rest of the world is waiting with bated breath to see what will be going down next. At the exact same time inside the Middle East, we have been able to hear that the Iranians are once again waiting for the Israeli strike that is to come, with many trying to figure out what exactly the Israelis will be targeting and attempting to destroy within the Islamic Republic. At the exact same time, Iranian proxies such as Hezbollah are continuing their campaign of terror against the Israeli people as they have fired off another large barrage of unguided rockets today into the territory. We have been able to see that some of these rockets have actually ended up being successful, with several of them landing near to the area of a military base in Haifa, wounding dozens and causing massive outrage as the Israeli government was unprepared and was not able to set off an alarm for the incoming rockets that were fired off by Hezbollah forces within southern Lebanon. At the exact same time, the United States Department of Defense is preparing for a defense of the Israelis in the region and have mobilized a THAAD, one of the few high-altitude anti-ballistic missile interceptors that we have, into the area to attempt a defense of the state of Israel and our other allies in the area if this is to become a high-intensity regional war instead of the low-intensity regional war that we are currently witnessing at the moment. Meanwhile, inside the United States of America, an amazing success was made today in the name of this republic as the Spacex Starship was able to conduct a successful orbital launch, and we were also able to see the recovery of the heavy booster that was used to launch the Starship into orbit. An absolute massive success in terms of progress and technological advancement here in the United States of America, and certainly something worthy of praise and admiration of all citizens of the United States and the remainder of the Western world. But moving on into our breaking news today, we are going to be moving on over into the Korean Peninsula, as we have been able to hear that apparently a South Korean drone, according to a North Korean statement, has been able to violate the airspace of North Korea, fly as far north as Pyongyang, and start to drop propaganda leaflets over the city. This is apparently something that has been noted by North Korean state television, and they have supposed video evidence, a picture of it shown here, showing some sort of a drone that actually did end up flying over the city of Pyongyang. According to a North Korean government statement, we have heard that this drone ended up dropping a large number of propaganda leaflets directly over the capital city, which the North Korean state is a wildly high provocation of their country. Considering that the North Koreans keep a very tight control on any information entering or exiting the country of North Korea, a drone dropping propaganda leaflets into the middle of the capital city excuse me, would be considered incredibly provocative, and we have seen that the North Korean government has already been taking actions and measures to respond to what they believe is a very large provocation. As we have been able to hear that artillery units near to the border area have been given the orders to prepare for firing. According to what we have from the Yonhap news agency in South Korea, North Korea orders artillery units near the border with South Korea to full fire readiness, meaning that at any given moment, they can be given the order to fire, and an artillery barrage will begin across the border in South Korea, and we will most likely see that South Korean counterfires will begin to respond immediately, attempting to silence the North Korean batteries, and also to once again stabilize the situation and put it into the control of the South Korean military commanders. At the exact same time, out of the area of North Korea, we have also been able to hear that in the area of Taiwan, escalation and tensions are once again running high, as we were able to hear that a Chinese warship, in fact multiple warships of a small fleet, were spotted near the area. According to the information that we have from Nexta, Taiwan spots Chinese warships after Beijing said it's ready for battle. The Taiwanese defense minister said that a Chinese naval group led by the aircraft carrier Liaoning has entered the waters near the Bashi Channel, which connects the South China Sea to the Pacific Ocean and separates Taiwan from the Philippines, meaning that our geolocation of the marker here would largely be accurate. The Chinese aircraft carrier that was mentioned is one of only three, with two currently in service and the third one being fitted out and currently undergoing sea trials at this moment. The People's Liberation Army Navy is the naval wing of the People's Liberation Army, largely considered to be the Chinese equivalent of the Department of Defense. This fleet is one of the largest and most powerful ones that we've ever seen in terms of firepower projection in this area over the course of the past 2 years, and it does seem to be a wildly concerning message that is being sent by the People's Republic of China. We are believing that they are once again trying to posture and conduct a very aggressive form of low-level coercion. We do not believe that the People's Republic of China is truly ready for war. By most of our estimates, the People's Liberation Army is not capable of supporting or operating a large amphibious operation near to the coasts of Taiwan anytime soon until the late 2020s, somewhere around 2029 or 2030 itself. This means that the Chinese, while they may be ready to get into a shooting battle with Taiwan, they never would really be able to conduct a successful landing operation onto the island and further prosecute or further advance their offensive objectives and a attempted capture of the island of Taiwan. So while the situation is incredibly serious and quite concerning, we believe that it largely is under control due to a lack of Chinese naval abilities. Meanwhile, moving on out of the area of the East Asian region and moving on over into the Middle East, we have been able to hear major news in this area today, coming especially out of northern Israel. Just over the last hour, we were able to hear that another major Hezbollah rocket barrage was conducted from the territory of southern Lebanon. Israeli forces are currently engaged in small areas across the border, attempting to destroy and wipe out forward Hezbollah positions before they begin their advance deeper into the country. We've already heard a statement made today that the Israelis have demanded that UN peacekeepers of the Ghanaians, Italians, and Irish are to fall back even further into into southern Lebanon towards the Litani River, as the Israelis will be preparing for their advance. The Italians and the Ghanaians have obliged this request and have begun to withdraw some of their UN peacekeeper forces further north. However, the Republic of Ireland has refused the request, and their UN peacekeepers are currently remaining in position, while the Israelis are preparing for their final offensive push towards the Litani River here very soon. During this situation, we were able to hear that Hezbollah proxies once again prepped and fired a large amount of unguided rockets into the area of northern Israel. But this time, unlike others, the Israelis did not have a forward notice. We have been told that a large amount of these rockets actually ended up impacting Israel without so much as an air raid siren being sounded and very few interceptors being sent to shoot down any of the incoming rockets. This ended up producing an absolute catastrophe, as we were able to hear that some of these rockets ended up impacting an Israeli military base near to the area of the port of Haifa and have ended up producing a high amount of casualties, with around 40 people wounded. 15 of them were reported at the time of this clip, but at the moment that we just got right before we started recording, it was around 40, with 7 of them seriously injured and 3 of them critically injured. And we can see one of the clips right here, right after the missile impacted. Interestingly enough, the exact location that this rocket hit seems to be a bit of a fluke, as it actually hit a occupied diner above the Israeli Defense Forces on this base, and appears to have hit during a very busy time of the night, with a large amount of Israeli soldiers inside the building trying to get a little bit of food so that way they could head to bed and hopefully get ready for the next day. We were able to see that the situation was not looking that good on the ground. We can't really show y'all this clip that much, but if y'all do want to see more of it, we will have a link to the description below, so that way you can go check out this map and see this for yourselves. But it was not that pretty of a situation. We also got to see an additional clip here, because the entire world was being stormed with this footage and information of the Israelis having to medevac some of the seriously wounded out of this base and further south towards Tel Aviv to receive some critical medical attention. And that's the end of that clip right there, but once again showing us that the Israelis are dealing with an incredibly serious situation and a even more aggressive foe inside of southern Lebanon. We do understand that the Israelis will be continuing their offensive actions without delay and will be advancing into the area around Tyre and everything in between here within the next few days most likely. We also understand that the Israelis are still preparing for their strike against the Islamic Republic of Iran, and we have been able to see that many people have been trying to guess and hypothesize exactly what targets would be hit or stricken by the Israelis in this upcoming attack. we can actually see right here, made by Ian Ellis of Twitter, a large list of some of the possible Israeli targets that may be stricken here in the next few days, as the Israelis will most likely be trying to figure out how to decapitate some of the Iranian government's abilities to wage war. We can actually see that these have been categorized as HQ leadership and intel sites in orange, missile bases and launch sites in red, Air Force bases in green, naval bases in blue, of course along the coastline, and also air defense coverage areas dotted in red, showing where the Iranian air defense most likely exists and what kind of defensive shield it would be giving to the Iranians. One thing that is very interesting to notice, however, is that Iranian air defense has very little overlap into other regions around the world, especially Turkey and Iraq. The Israelis are believed to most likely be using here in the near future Iraqi or Syrian airspace to conduct this strike, because while these governments have openly shown that they do not want Israeli aircraft conducting hostile operations against Iran over their airspace, they really don't have the ability to enforce that demand because they do not have any adequate air defense to be able to engage or deny the Israelis use of their airspace. For this reason, we believe that the most likely attack corridor for the Israelis would in fact be the area of eastern Iraq, firing into Iran itself. We will have to wait and see if that is going to be the reality. We are heavily assuming that it will be, but still, we will have to stand by and largely wait for the Israeli attack to occur, and then see how they'll be unfolding from that point forward. Meanwhile, inside of Israel, we have been able to hear that the United States Department of Defense has been on standby, preparing for the Israeli strike and the Iranian response that we believe will be coming soon after the Israelis begin their attack. We have been able to hear that the United States has moved one of our highest tech pieces of air defense equipment into the region, the THAAD. The THAAD is the newest and latest and greatest version of our air defense interceptor systems. It is actually supposed to, in the future, replace the Patriot missile system entirely, and this thing is truly the cat's meow of air defense systems. From what we understand, the THAAD is very similar to the Arrow 2 or the Arrow 3 anti-ballistic missile systems that are currently deployed inside of Israel. These weapon systems are capable of engaging any air targets at largely any altitude, even exo-atmospheric interceptions are possible with the THAAD. The interception rates are nearly 99% and even higher, meaning that almost every single target that will be engaged by the THAAD will almost likely be shot down. It would be an absolute miracle if they were able to make it through, although there is still a very, very minute chance. At the exact same time, there are only 7 of these that are currently in service with the United States Armed Forces, and 2 of them are currently deployed in the Middle East at this moment, with another one in East Asia and another one somewhere in Southeast Asia as well. We also understand that the remainder of them are currently inside of Texas here in the United States at this moment, which is a perfect segue for us to move on over into the massive technological feat that was made today. Of course, we very rarely mention events that ever happen inside the United States, as most of them are domestic political matters, and this channel doesn't really involve itself with domestic political matters and remains strictly politically neutral as a rule of the channel and a rule of our community, the Leaf Spring Army. However, there are always amazing accomplishments that are being conducted in the United States nearly every single day of every single year that are worth paying attention to and pointing out for everyone to see and recognize that the United States is conducting amazing feats each and every day of its own. Once again, showing the world that the United States is leading in technological advancements and scientific advancement and will continue to be one of the forefront countries in the world in most every single aspect. And that news brings us down to a very special facility inside of Texas today, which is Boca Chica, right along the United States-Mexican border. Boca Chica is the home of the Spacex launch facilities within this area of the country. They are an incredibly interesting sort of a facility. Boca Chica's launch facility is largely specializing in the production, testing, and future use of the Starship rocket system. The Starship is the largest rocket to have ever been launched by mankind in terms of the amount of gross tonnage of cargo that it can carry, along with the sheer width and height of the rocket itself. It has been an absolute feat of engineering that has been ongoing for nearly a decade at this point to be able to bring this system into being, and over the past few years we have seen endless amounts of Starship test launches that have been conducted time and time again, once again trying to refine and hone the Starship project into an actual usable rocket system. Just a few hours ago, we actually saw that the approval was given by SpaceX and by different government agencies here in the United States to conduct a launch of Starship Flight 5. And crazily enough, we were able to see the entire Starship system in use in its entirety. This system took off in an orbital test flight, and we were able to see that the orbital test was conducted successfully by the actual Starship vessel itself, and we were also able to see probably one of the craziest feats in rocketry ever seen in history so far: the return of the entire Starship booster section intact, landing at the tower it launched from. And here is the footage right here.
See how fast this vehicle is moving on the left hand of the screen.
Landing burn has been ignited. We're now down to 3 Raptor engines. We can see those chopsticks now in the rear.
Shutdown.
Megavilla had popped the booster.
This is absolutely insane. On the first ever attempt, we have successfully caught the Super Heavy booster back at the launch tower.
It was an absolute success, considering that this was the first attempt at trying to capture the Starship's heavy booster. Considering that it was a success on the first launch, this was considered an absolute success. And once again, showing that the United States will always be fighting to lead the cutting edge, technologically, industrially, and economically around every corner of the world. And once again, reminding our adversaries, such as the People's Republic of China, the Russian Federation, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and the Islamic Republic of Iran, that not only is the United States a very dangerous and deadly foe, but we are also an incredibly intelligent one as well, able to conduct things that have never been seen across the entire world. But that is all of the breaking news that we have today. I've got to thank every single one of y'all so much once again for watching, and if y'all have enjoyed, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and support us on Patreon, the link in the description below. It is absolutely wonderful to see so many people who have been enjoying our content lately and subscribing and watching. It means a great deal to us that we are one of the forefront voices of news out here on YouTube currently, especially in this kind of a international news segment. And if you really have enjoyed it, we would love to see y'all join our channel and subscribe. And if you would like to, you can support us on Patreon. The link is always in the description below, and we have to give a massive shout out and a huge thanks to everyone who has been continuing to support us on Patreon for quite some time. Y'all are the folks who help to make these video projects possible and help us to be able to work behind the scenes here at Enforcer HQ to keep these short war videos coming out practically every single day and to make sure that our live streams run like clockwork. If it wasn't for all of y'all, we wouldn't have been able to make this possible for 963 days, and we wouldn't be able to make it possible for another 963 days well into the future. And I got to thank you all so much once again for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.